Hi, everyone. It's just me right now. Lisa D will be here soon. Oh, Lisa D's here now. Hey, Lisa, we're live.
Hi.
Hey,
Sorry for the delay.
went ahead and started the live.
Okay, so I'm going to go on. I don't see it though.
I'm fixing to look for it right now.
I apologize for
Yep.
being a little.
It's there.
Is it really?
Yeah. Hey, Dandy B. Hey, Lollipop Guild.
Let's see.
Colorado Lover, Debbie Johnson.
She's got
Main
to
one.
make this broadcast.
She did. Wait, are we on? Are we on yet?
Yeah, we're on live.
Okay. Gary's helping me out.
I was getting messages. Are you going live? Are you going live? So I thought, well, I better go live. We're not quite ready yet, guys. Working out a few technical difficulties. But we will get started pretty soon. Hi, Angela Critters. Hi, Francesca. Hi, Dewey Do Right. Thank you. Hi, Abash. I can't say that. Unabashedly Karen. Hi, Denise C. Mary Beth. How's everybody doing tonight? Teresa Elvis, hello. Hope you're all doing well. And we will get started soon. Just have a few production issues. You still there, Lisa? Oh, you got your phone muted. Okay.
Am I unmuted now?
You're unmuted now.
Great.
I don't see any video.
Did you turn your camera on?
I'm just bringing over some other
There we
video
go.
I have. You can hear me though, right?
Right.
Okay. Just making sure.
Hi, Debbie Johnson. Hey, Clarissa. Hey, Sheila Thompson. Hi, Debbie Winsett Live. Hey, Carol Boyce.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Vicki. Hi, Mandy Hall.
This is going to be weird because I can't adjust it live. So I got to wait for the lag.
What?
Oh, there's a delay.
Okay.
There's a delay from Zoom to the live.
Okay, I can handle that. Because I did it last time and it wasn't a big deal.
To me, Gary, you need to go a little more to the left. Since I can see it on Zoom. Oh, the other way. Sorry. There it is.
Big enough to read?
Yeah, you think it's big enough?
Read it. I can read it.
Okay. And hi, Davita.
Not that.
Hi, Debbie Johnson. Hi, Angela Critters, Dandy. Hey, Vicki. Hey, Mandy Hall. Hello, Francesca. Hey, Denise. I hope I'm not missing anyone. Thanks for being patient with me. Let me get a chair. Oh,
Light bulb time?
it's heavy. Julian's getting bent because I'm moving the chair. I want to be able to.
Hey, Lisa S.
Oh, Jesus.
Hey, Tally Girl.
Is that how we did it last time? All right.
Cloud Cuckalood Land.
That'd be a better way than this. That's all I can say.
Well, it's fine for now. Okay. Well, it's improvisation. These legs could probably be moved over a little bit, like to go this way, honey. Oh, you're getting out the tape. Good idea.
So
Hi, Carol Boyce. Hi, Sheila. Sheila. Deb wins at life. Hello. Clarissa H2. Hi, Mary Beth.
Thank you, Abashid Karan.
I was thinking
Unabashed.
go over a little bit, like they don't have to be like straight.
Hi, hybrid Pisces.
How many people do we have in?
55 right now.
Okay. Oh, it's only 10 after 6. I don't feel horrible. I
wish
just
could
feel a
see
little
the
bad.
camera live to adjust it.
Hi, Ladybug Toes.
Don't you love that name? Ladybug Toes.
I do too. Are you calling in with your other device also? Or are you
Me?
just using, yeah.
Um,
I was wondering if we were going to be able to see you.
oh yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it? Because they can't see me.
Yeah.
And it is nice to be able to engage with people. How would I do? What other devices do we have?
You have your computer or
I'm using my laptop for the handout.
iPad,
I'm using my iPad to look at you.
phone?
The phone is looking at the computer. Gary, can I use your
Oh.
phone? Can I use one of your phones to look at everybody?
Oh,
Yeah, I
okay.
can use your phone.
I guess you could.
Yeah. This is not like, look.
That's 10 seconds later. It's-
Oh, all
or
right.
can
You
try-
already
I'm
moved
already
it?
trying to move it
All
to
right.
get it to the right spot.
All right. So why don't I use your phone? At least I could see people.
Try.
Yeah.
Hi, Lucy J.
Because I think that was, how do we do that last time? I don't remember.
Who used 2 devices last time? And you
I
couldn't
did,
see
but
the
I'm using,
chat.
what, honey?
You not watch
You
the
didn't. You
chat?
couldn't see the chat last time.
Oh, that's right.
So just call in with that.
I do like to see the, well, Nana Patty, you're looking at the chat, right?
Oh yeah.
I do like to see the chat though. I feel connected to everyone when I do that.
I know it's nicer. Hi, Gladys.
Can I try
Do what?
to use your phone?
Yeah.
So I could see the chat because I feel more connected to everyone. If everyone doesn't mind waiting just another minute, I'll try to use
Okay.
Gary's too.
Just text that link I sent you to Gary. And that way you can just click the link and come on in.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
That work?
Yeah, I'll do it right now.
Okay. Height divided equals 0.
That is my cousin.
Hi. Hi, Lisa D's cousin. Hello, Aurora. Hi, Evie Scorpio.
Text me the link to the
I'm doing it right now, honey. I was just doing it.
Lisa is the bomb. Yes, she is.
So are you guys.
Hey, Yvette.
This was a very interesting topic to research.
It was. Lisa and I had quite a few good conversations
We sure did.
about this topic.
We did.
Just at the very top one, Zoom.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to mute this one.
There, can you
Well,
see me
that.
better now?
Cannot. What the hell's the problem?
My cat is good. Thank you, hybrid. What is that? Hybrid Pisces? Nice to see you for asking. My cat's good. Yesterday we had a little baby kitten visit, and it was very funny to see them engaging with this little tiny baby cat. Oh my gosh. It was so funny, guys.
Hi, it's Randy's live.
Thanks for coming. What?
I said, hi, it's Randy's Life. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Hi, Mel Mac.
Just getting my water.
Oh, good, Mel Mac. Now you're gonna have to mute one of your devices. You
Yeah,
probably
Gary
wanted
wants to mute the one that's pointing to the
to the
kitchen.
camera.
I'm gonna do that right now. Okay, I muted that one.
And then you probably need to turn the volume down on it too.
Hold on a second. Yes, ma'am.
Things you can't turn the thing off.
Okay. Yeah, I know. Oh boy, there's an echo in there.
It's not
Thank
good.
you, Lisa S.
What did that person say? I know you mentioned parasocial relationship. I know it's very interesting, Clarissa H. I could do that if you guys want me to. Sure. Let me try talking again. That's a little bit better. There's going to be a little bit of an echo from me because I have
Two
my
devices.
iPhone is on. I muted it as best I can, but there's a little tiny bit of a sound coming from it. But does that bother anyone else besides me?
No, I can barely hear it.
So make this louder.
No, I shut her off.
No, I shut that one off.
I don't think that's the right way to do it, but
All right, so let's just do it and get it done so I could start.
because
So you want me to mute this one and turn that one on? So make that one louder then, whichever one you want. I don't care,
It's
but I
not
need to start.
louder, it's the microphone. This one is on.
All right, so just. Need to start.
I try now.
All right, so. Hi, everyone. That's better. There's a little bit of an echo, but it's actually pretty good. Now let me set this up so it's on something. Let me flip the
Hi,
camera.
Susan.
Why can't I
I was
see?
just checking my phone because
I shut
I
the
had a
speaker off,
message
so I
from
have a
Deb on the
problem.
Move.
Why can't
She's
I?
on her way back home from Illinois, and she's gonna be here around 9 o'clock tonight in Oklahoma City. And I told her to just come over and stay the night if she wants to. So Deb on the Move may be staying the night or coming. She is coming to visit.
We'll listen and look at the chat at the same time.
Honey, don't worry. It's good. Don't worry. It's all good.
Could you just use that?
Okay. I think that I'm going too high though with that chair. Let me just use this chair, I think. That's better. Okay. Like these, I'm sort of like having trouble with my eyes. My glasses don't seem to be strong enough for me lately. It's a little bit better. I kind of look, I look like I'm wearing those glasses, don't I? Coke
look
bottle
cute.
glasses, kind of Patty.
You look cute. Always. You always look cute.
Aw, so do you. I like
Oh,
your
thank
blouse.
you. Thank you.
Pretty.
I just grabbed something out of the closet that was comfortable.
It looks great.
Yeah.
It's really great. I think this is a pretty good setup now, because now we
Yeah.
can see I have the computer here that's showing me my handout. Oh, look. Hi,
The
baby.
baby had to come say hi.
Hi,
Hi,
baby.
Molly.
Hi,
Say
Molly. You been
hi.
a good girl? You're a good girl.
Yes.
If you don't touch it.
She's a good girl.
You know, Gary's so good. Like he wants to make everything so perfect.
I
He's
know.
so good. I know. And it
He
never
is.
is really perfect, but he did a good
He's
job.
great.
Yeah. So it's all good. He gets
Mhm.
himself so like revved up over
You
it.
gotta
Like
figure out how to have the thing present
We
on the
will.
live stream.
it bugs him a little.
This is so crude.
All right, but I'm going to start anyway. Okay, everyone. Thank you for coming and thank you for being patient with me because I was running a little bit late. I love the topic because I got a chance to really educate myself, like really take a deep dive into the subject. So it was really good for me because you guys know I have a certification in school psychology and also behavior analysis, but I really do specialize in behavior analysis more than anything else. So my psychologizing sometimes, I don't really have the opportunity to really focus in on some of these disorders that we really typically associate with adults, because I've spent, especially the last several years of my career, really focusing on child behaviors and things of that nature. So I really liked taking a deep dive into this subject. But having said that, I just want to, of course, I really want to make it clear that I'm not referring to any one person in particular when I talk about this subject matter. However, I'm sure that everyone here has come across a person that they feel meets the criteria for being a narcissist. And it was interesting because I found out that the data on the frequency of narcissism in the population is 0 to 6%, depending on the data source. And that seems really low, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And all the data that I looked at were pretty in agreement with each other. So it's probably, underreported, you know what I mean? Or maybe better explained by behavior that fits more neatly into another category of personality disorder, because there's quite a bit of overlap with narcissism with other personality disorders. I talk a little bit about that, and I'll talk about that in a few minutes, but in any case, I'm sure everyone has come across at least one person in their lives that comes to mind when they're thinking about the term narcissist, and especially now, right? Because, it's such an overused label right now. People are always using that term to describe like a lot of people in the pop culture now. It's a narcissist this, a narcissist that. It seems if you meet a bad person, they're a narcissist. If you have trouble with a person, they're a narcissist. That kind of thing. So I don't know.
Sometimes they're just a plain old psychopath or sociopath.
Right,
They're not a narcissist.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that too. Like, what's the difference? And when does a person cross that line? Technically. And it's a good question. And I saw Peggy K was saying, is narcissism increasing? Some people think it is, because as a culture, we're becoming more self-centered. Some people think it is increasing. And some people think, no, it's not really increasing. It's just that, we're more aware of these behaviors in our culture and in our society. You know what I mean? But it could be an outgrowth of our culture, because, like I said, the family is a microcosm of the greater society in general. But this, in a sense, society does help us raise our children. They don't get raised in a vacuum, So anyway, but Kristen beat us. She's so cute. You talking about me? I'm not a narcissist. Nope, not me. And she says, you look
You're
beautiful.
funny, Kristen.
I love Kristen. Yeah. So anyway, let me get started. And I start out at the beginning of this talking about, and people always do this when they do a talk. They talk about the origin of the word narcissist or narcissism. And the label came from the Greek mythology, the Greek god, I couldn't think of the word, isn't that ridiculous, of Narcissus. And they say in the literature, like he rejected the love of others, meaning, I guess what they're getting at is, he sort of didn't really need to have the love of others because he loved himself so much. And what happened was his downfall apparently was that he could not stop looking at his own image that was reflecting back to him in a brook or a spring. So unable to leave his own reflection, stop looking at himself, he starved to death. And then they say that where his body laid, the narcissus flower grew, and that's where the narcissus flower came from. So that, it's sort of, it like sort of gets pulled together, doesn't it? Some of the myths said that he actually killed himself. He stabbed himself to death. But, either way, he didn't come through that experience, and his downfall was loving himself too much. So they said that his own self-love was his self-destruction. So that's where it comes. That's where it comes from, Narcissus. I think most people knew that. And then the next, I have to scroll down a little bit here. I don't want to ruin this thing. The next thing I talked about, now it's kind of interesting. Why won't my thing go down? I don't know why this won't scroll. Anyway, the next paragraph says psychoanalysis and narcissism, because, Freud talked about narcissism in 1914. It became sort of a thing that we associate with Freud, because he sort of brought this up in terms of whether, he was really big into these kinds of concepts. And it's interesting and ironic kind of for me, because as a behavior analyst, it's sort of the opposite of the kinds of things that we like to talk about, because we focus in on behaviors that we could measure and that, have a good solid statistical basis for. But anyway, he's the person who sort of brought the terminology into the lexicon in the early 1900s. And then it became more popularized, like in the 70s, more though, in the mental health field, people talked about whether or not, I couldn't scroll up, I don't know why. It's sort of like as a positive attribute, that it's, a healthy thing to like oneself and to have good, healthy self-esteem. And the next paragraph that I have on my handout, Gary's going to scroll down for me. It says, how do healthy people develop and grow? And I wrote, it is healthy for people to have some level of narcissism or some sort of healthy self-esteem, right? Because if you don't have a healthy confidence on some level, that's how we have healthy relationships. We set goals for ourselves to achieve and things like that, right? So it's not necessarily a horrible thing to have a good, healthy self-esteem, but narcissism becomes a problem when it impacts a major part of your life, like your family dynamics, your self-concept, your occupational life, right? Or your social relationships. It's like that with anything. When it becomes an impact on your life, look at how cute. He propped the thing up so I could, thank you.
We're getting complaints in the audience.
What?
Complaints in the audience.
Oh, I didn't even see that. I doubt that.
Right.
Oh, okay. Oh, Doreen. Okay. All right. Anyway. Oh, well, yeah, she's a graphic artist. She knows about this stuff. Okay. I get it. Okay. So what, sweetie? I did, honey, but it didn't work. It worked for him though. See, it knows it's him. All right. Now I'm going to go into personality disorders, because that's where narcissism fits in the psychiatric world. It is considered a personality disorder. So that's why the next section, let me scroll down using the arrows that didn't work before. Okay, let's see. See where it says how? Okay, what is a personality disorder? Okay, it's I went according to the diagnostic manual for psychiatric disorders when I put this definition. Okay, it's an enduring pattern of inner experience and behavior. I'm reading it because that's what's in the book, so I'm going to read it to you. That deviates markedly from the expectations of a person's culture. It is pervasive and inflexible. As an onset, it has, oh, I made a spelling error. That should be has, I'm going to have to change that. Has an onset in adolescence or early adulthood and is stable over time and leads to distress or impairment. Okay, so that's what I scrolled down.
Oh, they said it wasn't working.
No, it worked.
Oh. That was lag.
But you're on call. If I call you, you have to come down and be my tech guy. I always speak loud, so that shouldn't be a problem. Okay, so personality disorders, it's funny. In the psychiatric manual for diagnoses, right? It's like a cookbook, okay? there's certain criteria that have to be met in order for a mental health professional to diagnose somebody with a mental health disorder. And basically that's what it is. Now, it's called a diagnostic and statistical manual because they're not arbitrary. It kind of looks like it is, but the people that devise these diagnostic categories and things like that, they do take into consideration population statistics and data when they make these decisions about what are the criteria and how many of those criteria have to be met to make a diagnosis like that. So I don't want you to think it's arbitrary, but that's why I'm going straight to the manual, because that's how it's diagnosed. Thank you, Dandy.
Thanks, Pussycat and Dandy.
What did Pussycat say? I missed it.
She said I look hot in this top.
Well,
I'm gonna wear it every day.
if the shoe fits. Okay, so now I don't want to go too slow. Am I good? Am I good, everyone?
You're good.
All right, let's go. Now, there's another little blurb about personality disorders, and this is important because there's 12 of them in the manual. Now, in the old days, we kind of didn't like to talk about some of these details because they didn't like the public to really know too much about these things. But you know what made me decide to like kind of do this anyway? First of all, you can read this anywhere. You could go to any bookstore and find it. You can buy a copy online. It's not like you can't, find out this information anyway. So, but anyway, so there's 12 personality disorders. There's a lot of them, right? And there's a lot of overlap between them. But I thought it was really interesting because there's the personality disorders that are very closely related to narcissistic personality disorders are borderline. There's some borderline disorder, histrionic disorder, and also antisocial disorder. So what I'm trying to say is behavior is not black and white, really. So all these things have to be taken into account in terms of diagnosis of a person. But it also makes the topic very interesting. And I'll get into that a little bit more in a little bit, but each one of these personality disorders has a certain pattern to it that makes it more clear what you're dealing with when you meet somebody like that. And that's the most important thing, because in the end, it doesn't really matter, like, I guess, what you call the disorder or whatever. In the end, you really need to know what you're dealing with. And then only when you know what you're dealing with can you really address it the way you really should, right? So that's why I'm kind of going into that a little bit more. And if you want the handout, you could read more about that in there, but I don't want to go too deeply into the weeds because I don't want to waste time and not say some of the stuff that's a little bit more important down the road. Okay. But the most important part of this paragraph is the last sentence, right? Because it says, for our purposes, there is one grouping, because they have different groupings of different personality disorders, right? And they're called clusters. But for our purposes, the one grouping that is the most significant for our purposes is the one that I listed. And the reason why that's important as a cluster, that they're all related, is because they include characteristics that all have in common that the behavior that the person exhibits is dramatic, emotional, and erratic. So try to keep that in mind. And that's what we're really going to be focusing on. All right.
Emotional, erratic, and what else?
And dramatic.
And dramatic.
And they all have that in common. Okay. So, and I put in the next sentence, I put that, because there's so much overlap in these diagnostic categories, right? There's a lot of debate, even in the field of psychology, of what the definition of narcissistic personality disorder should be. And because of that, there's 2 sections in the manual that conceptualize narcissism a little bit differently from each other. recognizing that there should be some flexibility there, which is really good. Because after all, we're talking about human beings. We're not talking about, a mathematical equation, right? Okay.
Right.
Okay, so the definition of narcissistic, let me just put it out there. This is a very short definition of narcissistic personality. This is based on the diagnostic manual. And it just says a pattern of grandiosity, which is an inflated ego and self-worth, right? A need for admiration and a lack of empathy. So that's in a nutshell what a definition of a narcissistic personality disorder is. Just right there. Grandiosity, an inflated ego and self-worth, a need for admiration and a lack of empathy. But there's so much more depth to this. But that's a quick nutshell definition. Okay. Now we're going to take a little bit more of a deep dive into some of these qualities, okay? Now, hi, Florida Gray Lady. Hi, Pussycat. Haven't seen you in a while. Hi, Jamie Fogarty. Hi, Jackie Burns. Okay, so now, while I'm talking about this, try to get a picture in your head of a person that you're thinking of in your life that you think might have it, and you think, do they really match up to these qualities, right? And I bet you they will. Well, maybe they will, maybe they won't, I don't know, but let's see. All right, you ready? And this information I paraphrased and in some instances took some direct quotes from the DSM because the wording was really so good. I couldn't really think of a way to change it so much. So just keep in mind that some of these are quoted. Exaggerated sense of self, exaggerates achievements and talents and expects to be recognized as having an exceptional qualities, even when those qualities are not present. Okay. Exaggerated sense of self. All right. The next one is focused on unlimited power, brilliance, beauty, or ideal love. Feels that he or she is unique and should associate with other special or high status people or organizations. Ready, Nana Patty? Seeks out excessive admiration from others. Okay. Possesses a sense of entitlement, unreasonable expectations of especially favorable treatment or automatic compliance with his or her expectations. Oh, I forgot. I got to change. I hate typos. Fix that.
Ethel Merck said, some folks have a Jesus complex, holier than thou, with lies and no heart. It's just sad. Hi, Denise Renee.
Is interpersonally exploitative. Takes advantage of others to achieve one's own ends, right? Lacks empathy. This is a huge piece of this, right? Lacks empathy. Oh, you know what? I'm not scrolling. Oh no, okay, I didn't miss it. Lacks empathy, cannot or will not recognize or understand the feelings or needs of others. There's a debate about that. Is it that the person cannot, or is it they will not, or is it a combination of both? We could talk about that later.
Okay.
What do you think? Is it that the person doesn't have the skill, or they don't want to even address it? And I have a theory about it. Let me finish reading this and then I'll tell you my theory a little bit. This person is often envious of others or believes others are envious of him or her. Displays arrogant behaviors or attitudes. You know what, Nana Patty? Here's my thing. I also feel, and this gets addressed a little bit further down, and you guys can tell me what you think in the chat too. These types of people, they don't seem to be really good listeners to begin with. They can interrupt you when you're trying to say something that's important to you. They can miss out on details that you might tell them, so that you can sort of see in a conversation that they didn't really listen. So if a person if they're so self-oriented and they're not really listening to you, it might not be that they necessarily don't always have the ability to empathize. but it could be that they're not even attending long enough to get the full message of what you might be
What you're
saying.
saying,
Yeah.
they're not even paying attention.
Right. It could be a combination of both, that, I mean, it's just a theory, because I don't think that they have the capacity to fully engage.
Mm-hmm.
Because while you're talking, I think their mind is on themselves.
Yeah. And
You know
what
what I
they're
mean?
going to say next.
Right. Or how,
What?
right. Or how, yeah, I mean, I really feel that way. A couple of people said they kind of feel that way too. They don't even attempt to listen or even try to listen. Yeah, like they might interrupt you in the middle of a sentence and then start talking about themselves, or like I said, just give you a clue that, like, or did a person ever just give you like a blank look? Like they just sort of like what you just said didn't even like make a difference.
Didn't
I've
even
had that happen.
register.
Exactly. Like, I don't want to say, but like they just didn't even have like it's just not important. Right. Hybrid Pisces said that. Yeah. So I think that could be a piece of it too. Not sure though, but that's definitely a quality. Very poor listening skills. But I think if you were talking about them, then they'd be more likely to be listening. You know what I'm saying? Because remember, it's that selfness, and that's very juvenile too, right?
Right.
I didn't talk too much about that element, but there is an element of being very juvenile, because after all, children are very self-centered, right? They're very egocentric, but they outgrow that.
Mm-hmm.
These kinds of people really don't.
Mm-hmm.
Now this is an alternative. I put a couple of these different models of narcissism because it gives us more information about characteristics too, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to be able to have a dialogue. The lights are on and nobody's home. Yeah, I mean, Kristen, you have a good point. It's very true. And you know what? If you have really good observation skills, or I shouldn't even say that. I don't think you really need that good observation skills at all. I think it's really easy to tell when somebody's not engaging with you and doesn't really care. I don't think it's that hard to tell.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this is an alternative model that they put in the book, in the manual too. And this talks about some other qualities that were added. And the one thing I was glad they added with this definition was the attention seeking component, because that was not in the other definition, right? So
Right.
the first thing I listed here was identity, excessive. This I thought was interesting, right? Reference to others for self-definition. So and in other words, building your self-esteem off of somebody else. So let me put this into context, all right? Listen to this.
Thank you, Julie DJ.
Thank you, Julie DJ. How about this? Conceptualize this for a second. You associate yourself with somebody who is very full of achievement in their own life. So now, by associating with them, you're elevating your own status, because now you're engaging, or you have friends that are educated, or whatever, I don't know, or have achieved a certain level of success in their lives, and now you're a part of like that group, right? Or you might be friends with people who are more low achieving, because then it raises up your self-esteem, that you're more elevated in sort of your achievements in your life. So
Right.
I did read in I don't remember which of the journal articles I read it in within the last few days, because I read a few, right? And I don't remember exactly which one. I might have put a notation in the text here and just forgot, but that they mentioned that you can, the person uses those connections to either like they grab onto relationships that elevate them, and the people that they associate with could be either like high achieving people or low achieving people, just to serve their own self-esteem, because this really is a disorder of real, like it is a disorder of self-concept, because as grandiose as a narcissist is, they really do have a very low self-esteem. So it's a very big irony, really.
Yeah, that they have a low self-esteem.
Yes.
That's very, very, what you wouldn't think that
Right.
if you were just
Right.
somebody that didn't know anything about the
Right.
disorder.
Right. They are very insecure people, very insecure as a group. So yeah, it's very ironic and surprising.
It is.
Yeah. So I thought that was an interesting, and I'm really glad that concept or that model was placed in the DSM because it has that component to it. And it delves into that a little bit more. And okay, the next one, self-direction, setting goals to gain approval from others. Okay. Setting goals to gain the approval of others. Okay. Establishing.
It's really important. It's really important for them to have approval of other people.
Well, I think it's status though.
Yeah. I think so.
Right. I think it's status oriented though, more than anything else. They want to be looked at like they're a really good person, like right.
they've got their life together, they're
right.
all that,
and that they're special.
Mm-hmm.
Because they want to have a special status. Right.
Right.
And that feeds into the next. Am I on the? Am I still? Yeah. Okay. Establishing personal standards unreasonably high to see one's. Oh, I just said this. Okay. So you're establishing goals that you're setting to be really, really high, as if you're an exceptional person, or setting them too low so you can seem even more exceptional, if that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense. So it almost feels like the person does things always with that sort of secondary agenda.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just like when you went to school to be a nurse, right? And I went to school to be a psychologist, and then later on I went into behavior analysis. There was a whole separate reason we did what we did, that other than the last thing I said to myself was I really want to have a I don't know, I want people to think I'm really cool,
Mm-hmm.
That was the last thing on my mind, really. It just didn't enter into my mind that people would think that I was some sort of extra special person, I guess, because I just went to school for this thing.
Right.
But it emerges that these people really do, put those things on the table when they make decisions,
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting. Do you ever hear that expression, I've always been proud of this. People could take me at face value. What you see is what you get.
Mm-hmm.
I've always had pride in that. You know what I mean? But that's not necessarily how these people operate at all. As a matter of fact, there is no face value. There really isn't. Right?
Right.
Now, is everybody thinking of people that they know in their lives? I bet you are. I bet you people are it's coming together a little bit, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Impaired empathy. Okay, that doesn't really need any other explanation. That's the theme, really, of a person who has narcissism. Very, very impaired empathy. The ability to not only see things from another person's perspective, but to actually feel, to really feel, to the best of your ability, to really feel what that person would feel. They call them empaths. And I believe there's a continuum, though, or a spectrum of whether or not people can really, really feel what another person feels. But I think when you're a real empath, you you do have some ability to have some of that feeling component too. But
Mhm.
I don't think that people with narcissism have that ability. I don't also think they have the interest. And I think in order to have the ability, you do have to have the interest. You do.
Right.
Intimacy. Relationships exist to serve the self-esteem of the person, of the narcissist, or for their personal gain. And the next definition also includes the grandiosity, right? But the last piece that wasn't in the other definition was that attention-seeking component. Excessive attempts to attract and be the focus of attention. I think that there's a lot to be said for that. And that goes back to that, like the person wanting to have that, special status. I'm unique, I'm special. People look up to me. I have exceptional abilities, and
I
they
help people. I help other people a lot.
right. And these people like to think of themselves as exceptional. But then it's kind of funny that they have that dichotomy of underneath it all, they really don't have a healthy self-esteem. And it's funny, Debbie wins at Life said, feel nothing, they are attracted to empaths. And I think they are.
Now, what was that again?
I think they are attracted to empaths. I think they're attracted to people that are really like exceptionally feeling people, because they know that they can conceal their secondary agenda.
Right.
And that they will be, they'll be more likely to engage with that person and see perhaps really only the good things, and maybe be caught off guard, because people with narcissism can be very good at hiding some of their negative qualities when they have to. They can be very good at it. And I think that even if they're not conscious of it, they can be attracted to people that are very empathetic, just naturally, because they tend to be much more accommodating people. So, I think that's really true.
Is your tablet gone?
Yeah, I'm gonna wake it up right now.
Oh, okay.
Come back to mama. Come to mommy.
Just like it disappeared.
Okay.
There it is.
Okay. This is where we come up to, like, everybody's heard of the two types of narcissism, the grandiose and the vulnerable, right? There was two models, right? One of them, the first one says that there's a grandiose narcissist type and a vulnerable narcissist type, but that there's an overt and covert type in each one of those categories. Which, I kind of think that's true, because like I said before, whatever, I have to get a tissue, whatever type of narcissist you're talking about, I think they can each be very stealthy.
Melmac made a comment. Somebody that we like to watch also, he mentions here, Dr. Les Carter has a great channel on narcissism and how to function with them when you're married to or work with them. Yeah, we watch Dr. Carter as well.
It's very good that you mention him, because guess what? I included him in my handout, and some of his information is in this because I think he's terrific. So I put some of his recommendations in here, and I mentioned a couple of his videos in here too. So kudos to you.
I know one of the reasons I watched Dr. Carter, started watching Dr. Carter, was because I had a relationship with a narcissist. And that relationship ended, and it helped me to understand why that relationship had to end, and everything that I had gone through in the relationship.
Yes. that's how I found his channel too. Because it was, it caused me a lot of sadness.
Mhm.
And I think that what's good about him is he really gives you a lot of hope, and he emphasizes finding peace. Hi, Aurora. Finding peace in your life. And I like that about him a lot. He's got a very calming way about him and a very positive one.
Right.
And, I think he's terrific that way. And you'll see when I talk about some of the things he says in my handout, what I like about him also is
You emailed me the handout, right?
Did we email it to her?
I'll put it on the community post.
All right, perfect.
So that people can look at it.
Yeah, Gary said he'll do it.
Okay.
But what I like, thank you. What I like about him too is he's giving you, and you guys are going to see it. I can't wait now. I'm going to go forward and talk about it. What he talks about is, okay, hon, all the things that he sees in his private practice. So it's not just, the textbook stuff.
Mhm.
It's the things that he hears about from people, the experiences they have, and it's real life. And I like that a lot about him. And you can't beat that. So that's why I included him in the information that I was giving out to you guys, because, there's nothing better than hearing it from somebody who sees a lot of people. And
Right.
his whole channel is, it's called Surviving Narcissism. And, in addition to his manner, his advice is so practical. And what's interesting, like I'm going to talk about narcissism, and not just the dry stuff, like the definition and all this stuff. It's just real practical stuff. And it's reality based. So I can't say enough how much I really like him. And if you get the handout, you'll get, some of the information about some of the videos I recommended, but there's tons of them. And, it doesn't cost anything, and he's very devoted to his audience too, very devoted. And like I said, it's all about bringing peace to your life. And who's going to argue with that? Right.
Right.
Who's going to say that's a bad idea? Right. All right. So, I wrote in the next couple of paragraphs, I'm talking a little bit about, we're getting into antisocial personality disorder and a little bit about psychopathy, because people always ask me, when, Ethel, you're so cute. When does a person cross the line from narcissism to psychopathy? Right?
Right.
And that's what?
Right. That's a big issue.
Because what we largely agree, what we really both basically saying, right, is that a psychopath doesn't have a conscience, right?
Mhm.
I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but who cares, right?
Yeah.
But if you don't have empathy, see, here's the thing for me. Did you sneeze?
No.
Oh,
That's Gordon. He's in the kitchen cooking.
Oh, hi, Gordon.
And then Molly keeps bringing me her toy to throw.
Okay. You could throw her toy.
Yeah.
But I want to just plant a seed and ask everybody this question, then we're going to come back to it in a little while. Okay. If you don't have empathy, right? You don't have empathy. You just, let's say you don't have it. You're not interested in it. You don't have any empathy. Then how do you, where does not having a conscience fit into that?
Mm-hmm.
Because empathy, when you develop empathy, to me, that's the building block for your conscience. For me, it is. I think that they're both very essential pieces to the growth of a conscience. So that's where I kind of almost feel like narcissism is like almost like an underlying symptom itself of psychopathy. But we'll get into it a little bit more when I talk about the criteria for what it takes to be diagnosed as having as being a psychopath. Okay. But I want everybody to think about that. Tell me what you think in a little while. Okay. All right. So there are people that conceptualize, let me scroll down a little bit further. Okay. Some people think that narcissism is more of an outgrowth of like borderline personality disorder, because borderline personality disorder is characterized by unstable interpersonal relationships, right? Self-image and emotional instability and impulsivity, which is very, very similar to narcissism, those qualities, right? They kind of are very related, right? And then other people in the field conceptualize it as more of an outgrowth or related to an antisocial personality disorder, right? And I'm mentioning these because it's important, because we're going to go back to it. We'll go forward into it. When a person's, this is what I was saying before. You ready? I'm going to read it verbatim right now.
Okay.
Others conceptualize narcissism as more of a disorder that is sometimes better explained as an antisocial personality disorder when a person's lack of empathy results in a pattern of, this is the quote, disregard for and violation of the rights of others, right? And that's where I kind of, a little like red light goes off in my head, like, okay, so there's like a bridge there between the lack of empathy and the consciousness, right? Not conscious, all right? And then still some other people, right, in the field conceptualize it as a spectrum, right? As explained as a psychopathy that leaves the realm of personality disorder, which is largely characterized by lack of empathy, and enters into the realm of true psychopathy, which is characterized by what people regard as a conscious. I just read it and I didn't have to, but you guys get the idea, right? Now, you tell me what, I don't know. I'd love to know what everybody thinks. Do you think it's more like and don't forget, one of the key features of borderline personality disorder is like fear of abandonment. It also has that impulsive piece to it, interpersonal relationship instability in interpersonal relationships. But then again, people that have borderline personality disorder don't have the lack of a conscience. So, it's, I think it more leans toward the antisocial or maybe even the psychopathy, in my mind. I don't think there's that much of a stretch. Now, I'm going to read you guys, I'm not going to read it, but I'm going to talk about what the definition of empathy is. Hold on. Did I go a little bit too far ahead? I think I did. I can't really see it that good. All right. There's this really good book. This book, I just took a deep dive into this book. Oh, holy cow. It's looking
Without
back.
Conscience.
Yeah. Without Conscience. This is a really good book. The Disturbing World of the Psychopaths Among Us. Very good book. Really, really. And it's, believe it or not, it's a pretty easy read, not hard to read, but very relatable. Very, very relatable. I would recommend it to anybody who's interested in the subject of narcissism or psychopathy. Very, very cool book to read. And according to the author of this book, a theme, this quote, I read this to Nana Patty this morning. This was the quote that really grabbed me, okay? It says that he had done, like in this book, he did some case histories and things like that that he shared and everything. And he said that a deeply disturbing, let me read this whole thing, okay? The disturbing world of the psychopaths among us, a theme that runs through the case histories of all psychopaths, is a deeply disturbing inability to care about the pain and suffering experienced by others. In short, a complete lack of empathy, the prerequisite of love.
So
But
without empathy, you can't have love.
it's a building block for love. Like, if you can't
Mhm.
empathize with people, how can you show real love? But here's the thing. He's talking about the definition of psychopathy, not
Mhm.
narcissism. But by definition, narcissism, the key aspect of narcissism is a lack of empathy, right?
Mhm.
But he's talking about that definition in reference to people without a conscience, basically psychopathy, right?
Mhm.
So what he's saying is a prerequisite to love is empathy. So a lot of people feel that narcissists don't have the ability to really love anyone but themselves. So it seems like all these roads go back to that same key point of the lack of empathy. And how can you really be a full social being without empathy? Because in a sense, it is what makes us really human. So I think that quote really says everything, even though he's not talking about narcissism, he's talking about psychopathy. So I think they're very closely related.
I do too.
Now, I was talking to, wait a minute, this last paragraph here, I was talking to Bitey Cat today. And we got on and now, Patty, you were in the conversation too. We got in the conversation is, what's the difference between a narcissist, a psychopath, and a sociopath? We got into this whole dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
And Moo pointed me in the direction of another YouTuber. And I watched this video and I thought she was excellent. So of course I pointed her out in this handout too. And what she says is every psychopath is a narcissist, but not every narcissist is a psychopath, right? Which makes sense. Yep. And then she said, psychopaths view the world as an instrument to fulfill their desires, right? But I think that in a certain sense, narcissists do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, going back to psychopathy now, we're going to go back to The Conscience, the book that's called Without a Conscience, right? We're going to go back to that author, and we're going to go through some symptoms that he says that he lists in terms of psychopaths.
Someone has a question for you.
Oh, okay, good. Do you think
they want to know, do you think people are born with like that?
Well,
do you think people are born a narcissist, or is society making them a narcissist, turn them into narcissists?
Well, that's a really tough question. I would guess, if I had to guess, I really do think that, and this is a question that I want to talk about in terms of sociopathy and psychopaths and sociopaths. The terminology isn't difficult to say, but I think that people are born with at least a predisposition toward that behavioral cluster of behaviors. They have a predisposition at least, and it could be that something in their upbringing could trigger it. But I do believe that at the very least, there's a tendency to be that way in some people. But I think
my unprofessional opinion is that they are born with it.
Yeah, I
think that they are.
I think it's probably less nurture and more nature.
Mm-hmm.
At least a tendency to be that way. And from what I read in the literature too, and I said this to Nana Patty today, and he talks about that in this book. Robert Hare talks about this. There's just as many people that come from impoverished backgrounds that turn out to be at least sociopaths, I mean psychopaths, than people that come, you can come from a really good family background and have healthy relationships, that healthy parents that raised you, and then you could come from, a family that's broken. And, the odds of that population emerging from those two family styles is about the same. So in a sense, I guess that sort of does say that it is less nurture, right? If the emergence of that behavioral cluster is similar, right?
I think we talked about it today, and didn't we determine that psychopaths are born with it, sociopaths are made?
Yes, and that's what the YouTuber, I can't pronounce her last name that easily. She the way she describes it, like a psychopath is born like it is born into that. They're born that way, and then a sociopath comes more from a impoverished background and learns to be that way, and they gradually become desensitized to the violent acts or whatever they perpetrate on others. So that's how, like, the distinction that usually gets made, like made and born, made versus born. But behaviorally, there's really no difference in the behaviors that they exhibit, So that's why people get them confused. And in my head, I always think of them as really the same, but that's what the distinction really is. And if you really think of it as narcissism as an outgrowth of psychopathy, then I would imagine it would be the same thing, that, they're really sort of born that way, or at least there's a predisposition to be born that way. But
and someone has another question when you get finished with this one. Dana Soliel had a question for you.
I'm
Do you
ready.
see it? She says, how does narcissistic behavior affect the family pattern or style?
Well, if you have a narcissistic member of that family, it's very difficult to deal with, because it becomes, the expression walking on eggshells should say it all. What happens is, from a young age, everybody learns that that's the person that everyone has to walk on eggshells around. And they become the one person that is difficult and that everybody has to manage. And it only becomes more difficult as they get older. And I hope I'm answering the question, but unfortunately, if it happens like that the person is like that at a young age, they'll usually continue being like that into adulthood. And it becomes very difficult to manage a family like that, because they dictate their terms to the family, and they expect everyone to follow what they say they want, how they want things done, and they maintain that status. Very difficult. Nice to see you too, souls. Very difficult to maintain that relationship in a family unit, because
everybody has to.
They also think that they're entitled to do that. They have a special status, which makes it worse.
They're the only important person in the family.
Right.
Everyone else really doesn't count.
Right. And if a person emerges like this, starts out like this as a child, those patterns are established at an early age, because you know what? People just want peace. So I'm sorry to hear that, Teresa Elvis. Everybody starts appeasing the child at a young age, and that appeasement is, that person expects to be appeased even when they're an adult. Did anybody ever notice, like, if you know somebody who you think is a narcissist, right? Did you notice that they a lot of them have a lot of behaviors that really appear to be very juvenile? Whoops. Juvenile. I've noticed that. They
it's
retain
like they never grow up.
Yeah, they retain behaviors that worked in the past. Whatever worked before, you keep that. You keep making it works, you keep doing it.
Right.
Whatever strategies worked, you're going to keep doing that. Joanne Dallas said, how can one person adversely affect so many? Yeah, Jim Jones and People's Temple or David Koresh. And yeah, it's unbelievable, right? Yes, very juvenile. Yeah.
Kathy from Texas has a question.
All right.
She says, isn't empathy a quality that is developed between a mother and infant within the first 2 years of life? I've never heard that before.
No, I can't answer that really. I don't know. Because for me, it's a mother, I would think a mother would always have empathy for their especially for their children. To me,
but not a narcissist.
right. I'm saying a normal mother, a normal parent, to me, it's just a normal, natural part of development into an adult. And I think your parents do teach you to do those things too. I mean, teaching has a lot to do with it too. Your parents teach you how to be a human being as you get older, I would hope. But,
right.
it's their job. Yes, entitlement is a huge issue. I'm sorry about that, Tevi. You still love her. You can still love somebody, even if they're a narcissist, of course. You just have to set boundaries. That's all you can do. We'll talk about that too. Okay, the key symptoms of psychopathy is defined by the gentleman who wrote this book. I only included it because I feel very strongly that these also meet the criteria for, in many ways, for the narcissist. That's why I wrote them. And you tell me what you think, okay? Glib and superficial. Egocentric and grandiose. Lack of remorse or guilt. And this is what I put. I said, this is what separates a narcissist from a psychopath. Because even in the video with Dr. What's her last name? The doctor, not Dr. Dr. Carter, the other doctor. She has I don't remember her last name, but I wrote it down in the handout. I'll tell you in a few minutes. I'll look it up. But she says that even what separates a narcissist from a psychopath, and it's very subtle sometimes, is the remorse aspect. Because what she tried to put across is that even if a narcissist has a little tiny bit of guilt over hurting someone or remorse, that's what separates them from a psychopath that never has guilt or remorse. They never do. So that's why I put a star next to it, because that's what she's saying is the key difference between a narcissist and a psychopath. And it's a great video that Bitey Cat recommended this morning that I watched. So that's why I put it in here, because she's just very concise about it, very interesting. Okay, and then the next one is lack of empathy, deceitful and manipulative. I think that from my experience, that people that have narcissism could be very deceitful and manipulative because they can fabricate things. Fabricate things. I won't even use the word lie, because fabrication sometimes is a better word, because we're talking about things that they really believe to be true. I think a lot of times the person really believes it. Shallow emotions. Okay, that's the next thing on the list. Now we're going into social deviance. That this might be a little bit more gray. Okay, impulsive. I think people with narcissism can be very impulsive. Why? Because they're not able to anticipate a consequence easily. They have poor behavioral controls. That goes along with being impulsive, though, doesn't it? It's kind of the same thing. A need for excitement. That's that drama piece, right? That we read about in the other definition, right? A lack of responsibility. You could see that. I mean, right? Early behavior problems, right? there are some people that I know that I think are narcissists, that I know for a fact that have had early behavior problems, definitely. And then but this piece is also a defining piece to antisocial behavior and also psychopathy. Adult antisocial behavior, right? Do they meet the criteria for antisocial behavior? But you know what? Here's another gray area, Nana Patty. Everybody kind of listen to this, all right? Antisocial behavior includes those things like starting fires, hurting animals, like those really bad, those things that are really bad, okay? But here's the other thing, and I was thinking about this, and he brings this up in this book. There's other antisocial behaviors that don't include hurting animals, starting fires, truancy, theft, things like that. And they can include scamming people out of money, right? So those areas are gray, a little bit more gray, but really, are they? They can, for me, I'm going to be honest, that's not a gray area for me. That's an antisocial behavior. So it might not mean that the person is, going into a store and stealing stuff, or starting a fire, or, hurting an animal, or, doing some of those things that we really classically would call antisocial behaviors, or sometimes we call them conduct disorders or something of that nature, right? But they are antisocial behaviors because it's taking from somebody. It's, it's thievery, right? So I don't know if you really look at all those criteria, the psychopathy that Dr. Hare talks about in this book, I really do feel that most of them really do apply to the narcissist. So that's where my mind goes. Now I list in this next section, I list other characteristics, and I bet you everyone else could even list more. Okay, but I think you'll all be able to relate to these. Okay, a strong need for control. Okay. How am I doing with timing? Am I taking too long? Because I want to get to like interventions and stuff. Am I going too long, you think?
Well, we might be. We're an hour and a half in.
Oh,
almost an hour and a half in.
All right. So what if I go a little faster here? Okay.
Okay.
All right. A need for control. And I said, this is kind of ironic, for, when you really think about it, because the person has a strong need for control, but they don't have a lot of control over themselves. They don't have good behavioral controls for themselves. So they're seeking, a lot of times they seek control over others to get more control, to sort of fulfill control of themselves that they don't have. So I felt like that was very ironic. So I'm sure they're, oh, thanks, Joanne Dallas. She says I'm doing swell. They also have poor emotional and behavioral control. They also need to, and the second one that what I wanted to add to that was that they also are seeking control over others to get some dominance over them, because dominance raises their self-esteem, right? Which they need to nurture that because they feel deficient in their self-esteem, right? And then simultaneously, right, it gives them more of a feeling of control. So it's a feeling of control, raising self-esteem, and also giving them more dominance over people. Okay, so it's all three of those things. The next one, of course, we talked about lack of insight and empathy, and I talked about that before. I don't know if I should talk about it anymore. Let me see if I added anything.
Do you have any good examples of somebody who's we talked about some examples of someone who is a sociopath or a psychopath and
in real life?
Yeah, and a narcissist.
Oh, yeah, we did, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we talked about like, people like Bernie Madoff, right? We mentioned him, Elizabeth Holmes. The woman who,
Narcissist.
yeah, well, I think that it's open to debate whether or not they cross over to the psychopath, but Anna Delvey, she's that woman who scammed all those people, those rich people, never had any money, but she pretended to be a socialite.
Mm-hmm.
And what about Elizabeth Holmes, who said you all you needed was a drop of blood to do an analysis of blood work for people, and all these millionaires invested tons of money. And the woman who said she was a 9/11 victim,
All right.
forget her name.
I do too. We talked about it.
Yeah. These are all pretty good examples of at least people that are narcissists, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure people could think of a ton more. You're right about that. I did read that narcissists are more likely to have addiction issues. I did read that. They are at a greater risk for addiction. Yeah.
And you can kind of see how some narcissists will start something, like just say maybe they start crocheting, for instance, and that's all they do for months and months and months. And then all of a sudden something else comes along, say knitting, and that takes over from the crocheting.
Yes, I noticed that too.
And then that's all they do for months and months and months until the next thing comes along.
Right.
But it's like they become addicted.
Yeah, it's almost like there's an addictive personality attached to it. And I did read about that in the diagnostic manual, because they do say like there's comorbidities, things that go along with them. I think they might have even mentioned anorexia.
Yeah.
Is that that they could be at risk for that too. I think that I did read that. Now that you mention it,
I'm up at Samantha Lowe.
Boy, we could talk all day. There's so many interesting areas to go down, right? I feel like I could talk about this another whole day.
We could.
Yeah.
We could spend hours and hours on this subject. Thank you, Laura.
This is a very interesting one. No interest in learning from mistakes. I think that's a very significant one.
It is.
A narcissist lacks interest in learning from mistakes. And you know what? I think it's because they have a difficult time admitting a mistake. And if you can't admit that you made a mistake, how are you going to learn from it? And from what I've seen from people in my life that are narcissists, or I think that they are, that it always is about like blaming the next person for it. So within like almost instantaneously, it's somebody else's fault, and if they do something that is really obviously wrong, they'll come up with some sort of explanation to explain why they had to do that. So it puts that external locus of control there, so that it wasn't really that they did it. It was that there was a reason they had to do it. So it's automatically outside of their brain. So if you had to do it for some other reason, then you're not going to fess up to it because you had no choice. You had to do it, and sometimes that other reason is involving somebody else, that it's somebody else's fault that they had to do it. So you can't go to the next step and take responsibility for it if you're not even acknowledging that it was a mistake to begin with. So that's a really big one on the list, I think. And then
someone said it's not that bad. Everybody does it. It's coming up for an excuse for why you did something that was bad behavior. It's not really that bad. Everybody does that.
Right, right.
Mhm.
You know, and think about it, like the next one says poor coping skills. I mean, we learn to cope by making mistakes, having to correct ourselves, dealing with the feelings that go along with that. We learn to cope from disappointment by people saying, no, we can't do that. When people are walking on eggshells around us and giving us what we want so that, you know, we don't have an outburst or something like that, we don't
Mhm.
learn to cope as children either. So then you have this narcissistic child, perhaps, because it usually does start in childhood, right? These behaviors. And then you're shaping that child's behavior as they get older to continue those same patterns of behavior. But along the way, there's no opportunities to learn to cope, because children learn to cope when they do experience dissonant feelings, things that
Mhm.
disappoint them, or mistakes that they made, or reprimands, or all sorts of stuff. I mean, I used to say to my kids all the time, you know, you're not going to have a boss that's nice to you necessarily.
Mhm.
You know, you're not going to have a boss that says, oh, you don't want to do that right now. Oh, sorry. You know, and that's the truth. That's called
Right.
coping. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So that all goes together, you know. That's why I think,
Yeah.
and inherently they might have difficulty coping to begin with, just by their constitution. But if you're tiptoeing around them all the time and giving them their way about everything because they're demanding it or whatever, then that's not going to help the situation. And then what you end up with is eventually you have an adult, like a really old adult, who still can't cope. So,
Mhm.
and then you have more of those behaviors, you know. So
Well, Peggy Case says that she said my mom would never admit she made a mistake. She was married 3 times and always said the man turned bad after they were married because she didn't want to admit she had picked badly.
and like,
Bad
what would have
choice.
happened if she just said, I made a mistake? Like, the world wouldn't end.
Mhm.
She said, I made a mistake, you know. And that goes along with self-esteem. People with a healthy self-esteem could say, I made a mistake. They could say they're sorry for making a mistake. They could say whatever it takes, because you have a healthy constitution. You don't need to always be right. You don't need to always
Mhm.
be perfect. You know, it's like tonight, I'm running late. Sorry, everyone. I was a little late. You know, sorry, I'm a little late. Whatever. It's, you know,
Mhm.
um,
Things
uh,
happen.
exactly. You know, but when you don't have a healthy self-esteem, that mistake must be catastrophic.
Mhm.
Catastrophic, right? The next one I have here is lack of foresight. They do not always see I was very gentle with this. I said they don't always see the consequences of their actions due to impulsivity, emotional instability, and even a need for excitement. Sometimes, and this is really kind of interesting, because in one of the descriptors, they say that there's a real need for excitement there, and that's where the drama comes in. And sometimes some consequences to behaviors could be more pleasurable because they generate excitement for the person. It might be really exciting to see everybody get in an uproar over their behavior, because that means that they're in control of those people, and that's exciting.
Mhm.
Very exciting. Like, look what I
So-
could do. Look what I could do to everyone.
So being dramatic, doing dramatic acts could cause excitement for, say, our audience. If I did something dramatic right now, if I was that kind of person, then that would bring me great joy.
It
If I
could.
did something dramatic and got everybody to have a reaction to
Yeah,
what I
because
did.
right, exactly. I mean, if you were that type of person,
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Right.
most normal people don't react that way. But if you were that type of person, if you were a narcissist, you might actually really enjoy that.
Right.
Because remember, it's about control of other people, raising your self-esteem. People, that people are reacting to it. You're getting a lot of attention. You know, it's, but you know what? If you were going to be doing that and you're impulsive, you might not think of the outcome of something that you're doing that could be negative because you're in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like all you're thinking about is the attention you're getting. You're not thinking, well, wait a minute, maybe I might not be doing the right thing. You know, okay, what, you know, maybe so, and it's that impulsivity too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what if you did something like, I don't know, I can't think of anything because I'm not like, I don't have a mind like that. But what if you did something, you know, that really wasn't smart to generate some excitement, you know, and then it had a negative outcome, and you got caught up in the moment, you didn't know it, and then all of a sudden, you know, something came out of it that was like really bad. You was, oh my gosh, I never thought of it. I got caught up in the moment. I mean, things like that happen to kids.
Yeah.
But they don't
Yeah.
usually happen to adults because, you know, you're thinking, wait a minute, maybe that's not the smartest thing to do because this could happen. They don't anticipate those outcomes. They don't have the foresight to do that. And I put that as the next thing. They don't anticipate the consequences because mostly they don't really care about them.
You know,
Like it's like,
I think about that, like in these kids that are doing these TikTok videos, and dancing around and showing their body and wearing provocative clothes or little clothes, and they don't realize what could happen to them by the way they're acting.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
the negative impact of what could happen.
yeah, like what about eating a Tide Pod?
Oh yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because their friends did it.
Yeah.
And like they accidentally choke on it and they aspirate soap.
Yeah. Then they're in
Something like
trouble.
that. Right. Then you're in really deep trouble, right? But you didn't think like I could poison myself with choke on it, and then I'm, you know, no, it just doesn't register, you know.
Mm-mm.
But just imagine that in an adult, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's
Doing the same behavior.
right.
Hi,
Exactly.
Wendy.
Not a Tide Pod, but you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
They can't even, it's not even that it's like they don't have the foresight. They can't anticipate the outcome. And even if there is a certain consequence, they don't admit to it because like they don't admit to mistakes and they don't have a regard for consequences. So you put that in the package. Then in the context of psychopathy, right? That fits into with lack of a conscience too, right? Because you see what I'm saying? It kind of all fits together, right?
It does.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mama Ames said, she said, I do wonder what types of real emotions narcissists feel. They have no empathy and can't feel love. What do they feel? Lisa, is it all a life of adrenaline-based emotions? Like, are they able to feel sadness? Are they able to feel pain? Or are they able to feel, I'm not talking about physical pain, I'm talking about emotional pain.
I think whatever emotions they feel is related to what is affecting them directly.
The big one that's talked about is empathy, the lack of empathy. And I think without empathy, you don't have a lot of other, you don't really feel a lot of the other emotions either.
Right. Because that's
like
the building
shame.
block of all other emotions, right? Because without empathy,
embarrassment, shame.
right. Yeah. So say you're feeling really sad over a very, like something really bad happened and I'm empathetic toward you. I'm feeling pain. I'm feeling bad for you. Then something else happens to somebody else I know, and something really good happens. Like today, something really, really good happened to somebody that I really, really love. And it wasn't a small thing. I started to cry because I was so happy. She doesn't even live here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's so that's like a depth of an emotion for a friend. Then for another friend who's going through something sad, or say, you know, like I was telling you about somebody who's going through very severe physical pain. And I cried because she said, you know, she's not any better today. So for her, I felt, you know, I was upset for, you see what I'm saying? So without empathy, how do you, like, that's where you experience other emotions, right? Like, but I guess, I mean, it's not the only time you feel emotion, because you feel bad, you could feel good or bad for yourself too, right? So I think out of the context of empathy, it would be what you feel for yourself about what's happening for you. I would guess that's what it would be. The feelings that directly and only directly affect you. That's what I would guess. I could be wrong. Who mentioned that there's a channel, that there is a person with narcissism who describes his own feelings? Somebody told me about that today. It might have been Bitey Cat.
Yeah, I think it was.
I could add that to the handout, because that's an interesting thing to have, like a perspective from that person's point of view, right? A perspective from that person's point of view. That's like, I said that wrong, but you know what I mean. The next thing on the list, difficulty coping with rejection. Wrap your head around that, right?
Yeah.
So a person with narcissism can really run a relationship into the ground. And then when you try to, like say it's a couple, right? I got your question there, pause. I'll go back to it, okay, I promise. So you're in a relationship with a narcissist and you break up the relationship. You can't be with them anymore. And then they drive you insane with, you know, oh, cute. Hi, baby. Give her a kiss for me. And then the person starts, you know, say it's a guy, okay? I break up with the guy, and he starts like prank calling me in the middle of the night, whatever, driving me nuts. He's the one that destroyed the relationship. He's the one that, as a matter of fact, let's go a little further. When we broke up, he told me he was glad we were breaking up because he wasn't happy either. It wasn't mutual, but he actually did. I think he didn't want to give me the satisfaction of making me feel too good about anything. So he actually said to me, well, I'm glad we broke up, but now he's driving me insane over the breakup, right? It's sort of the same concept. Like, he just can't stand the idea that I rejected him. And he's going to make me pay a price for that, because like nobody rejects him. Okay. That doesn't happen. Nobody leaves him. You know what I'm saying? It's just too much of an ego, a blow to his ego. Not that he misses me, but that I left.
Right. You rejected him.
Exactly. Any rejection of the narcissist will be blamed on the person who rejected the narcissist. The narcissist doesn't react emotionally to the loss of the relationship as others would. For example, there is often no emotional reaction to the loss of the loved one when they leave, right? Or there's an exaggerated response. So I was reading some examples of this, and some people say there was zero response. Like, the person was in a long-term relationship, very close, like close to being married, everything. When the person left, there was no reaction, like they never existed. Completely ignored the person, like they literally never existed. Or it was the opposite, and it was so exaggerated that the person went, you know, completely crazy and started making their life miserable. So it was like either one extreme or the other, but either way, it was, you know,
so
the person
whenever
couldn't cope with the rejection.
So when this happens, say this couple, they had mutual friends. So he goes behind this other one's back, his ex-girlfriend, and he starts saying all these terrible things about her to the friends. And so all of a sudden the friends break up with her and take his side.
No. In this situation, she had to give up all the friends.
Yeah. Because he
wouldn't
manipulated
allow
them.
it.
He manipulated their friendships to take his side.
Yep.
And so she's left out in the cold.
Yes, she had to, in order to give up that relationship with him,
Mm-hmm.
she had to give up all their mutual friends. And some of those friends she was friends with before that, before she
Mhm.
met, before he, in other words, he was new to some of those friends
Mm-hmm.
because he had to punish her.
Yeah. For breaking up.
Right. That's one of the cases I read about. Could not cope with the rejection.
Mm-hmm.
This is interesting because I'm not a very Freudian psychologist, and I went back to look at defense mechanisms exhibited most frequently by narcissists, because defense mechanisms are all Freudian, right? And you know what? I think that narcissists use all of them, mainly the first one, which is projection. How am I doing, everyone? Am I going on to, let me see, because I could
think
go
you're
back
doing
to it.
fine.
Yeah, I think we're doing well, because it's not that much further before we get to some strategies, like how to manage narcissists and recovering from relationships. Okay, so projection. Everybody has heard of that, right? Okay.
Yeah.
A narcissist often attributes his or her often unacceptable emotions to someone else's actions. So, in other words, how many times have you had somebody, thanks, Cowboys, like a person does something to you and then they say that you did the exact same thing to them, but you didn't do it, but they said you did it. Or they'll attribute the feelings that they are exhibiting. They'll say, like, they'll attribute their emotions to you. Has anybody gone through that? Oh, thank you, everyone. Good. I'm glad you feel that way, because I felt like I was going on for too long and I don't want you to get bored or anything. Okay. So how many times has that happened to you with this person or anyone else? Where you kind of get a blame for something that person definitely did and you didn't do, but you get accused of doing or feeling the way that they feel.
Kind of like gaslighting. Like
yeah,
gaslighting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's
yes.
You didn't really do that, but I'm going to make you believe that you did do it because that's part of what I do. So
yeah, I wish I understood this.
so Lisa,
I don't know why.
Lisa, I know that you said something bad to me earlier today. And you're like, no, I didn't. And I'm like, yes, you did. You said such and such. And before long, you actually believe that you said that to me.
You go like this. Did I do that?
Mm-hmm.
Wait a minute. Am I crazy? Hold on a minute. Yeah. You start thinking you're a little crazy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Florida Gray Lady. It's a little crazy, right? Displacement. A narcissist will often shift their emotional reaction from the rightful recipient to another. So in other words, say they're mad at you, but they can't really, like they might not be able to get mad at you for some reason. So they displace that anger onto somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
They'll just blast somebody else. Somebody did something to them. They might not even know who did it to them. It could be something that happened at work or something like that. They're annoyed, they're angry, they come home, they start yelling and screaming at you. You're the spouse, whatever, your husband or the wife or whatever. You didn't even do anything. They come through the door, they're yelling at you. Maybe they can't say it to their boss. Because remember, they don't have the constitution. They don't have the self-esteem. It's not easy for them to tell the person that they should be telling. But they have to get that emotion out. So they displace it. Denial. Narcissists refuse to acknowledge something that really happened, even when they know it really happened, in order to protect themselves from a negative feeling or consequence. So say you're with the person when something happened. You know it happened, you were there. And then all of a sudden, the story changes. Like the person denies that even happened, or it happened a little bit of a different way. And you're there, you know it didn't happen that way. Another kind of, I guess, form of gaslighting, right? You're like, wait a minute, am I crazy? What's going on? Right? And it's funny, I never realized how many defense mechanisms that Freud talked about all those years ago, people with narcissism really do use on a regular basis. And it makes kind of sense, because defense mechanisms are not really used. And Freud talked about this. They're not really used by people that are really that healthy, right? Otherwise, why would we need defense mechanisms at all, right? Because they are defense mechanisms. Justification and rationalization. Does that seem familiar? Think about the person that you feel might have narcissism. How often will they justify or rationalize? Sorry, my eyes are very irritated since I had COVID. How many times can you count that a person that you think has narcissism will use this strategy? They will make up excuses for doing or saying something, and to benefit themselves or to protect themselves. And when you hear the explanation as to why they did it, it doesn't make any sense to you.
No.
And it makes perfect sense to them, because it's a rationalization or a justification. And you think to yourself, I don't know what I just heard. I have no idea what that means. And you cannot argue the point. You will lose.
Right.
Nor should you try to. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in a few minutes. You should not try to.
And a lot of times it's a fabrication that they're telling you.
Yes. Yep. And that's the next one, Nana Patty. Fabrication. Narcissists frequently engage in fabrications, lies, and changing stories, even when they know you were present when that story or that occurrence happened, and you know what actually happened. And what I've noticed is, and this happened recently, even if that person knew that you were standing right there, the fabrication would happen. And they would have no clue that you would even know. Like they ignore the fact that you would know whether or not that was true or not. It's almost like that grandiosity is there. Like, you should believe me because, like, I'm me. Therefore, my story should be told because I'm the one that's telling it and you're not.
And it's truth, and it's to them, it's their truth. Even though it's a fabrication, they believe it.
And where do you think why do you think we have that term in our lexicon now? My truth and your truth. It's an excuse to lie. To say, you know what, that's my truth. I don't know about yours, but my truth is blank. And that's why some people think that we have more narcissism now, because we're coming up with these sort of gray areas of truth. Now you could say your truth. That's your truth, my truth, his truth, her truth. So then where is the truth? That means there's no space for the truth, right?
Right.
Exactly. Now, The next thing I wrote here, and this is really interesting, and I could talk a whole day about this, but I'm not going to because it's too much. Can a narcissist change? Well, I read this really fantastic article on the topic, and I told you about this, Nana Patty, but I decided not to delve into it. It would be too much. But a narcissist can only change if they really, really want to change. They would have to be motivated to change, okay? But it's not that common that a person with narcissism would want to change because they don't see themselves as needing to change.
They have to realize first that they are a narcissist before
Right.
they have to admit first that they are one.
Right.
And then they have to want to change. And it's almost like you have to teach them how to have empathy. You have to teach them, and they may have to fake that because they don't really feel it.
Right. Exactly.
But they may try to have empathy, or what they think empathy is.
Exactly. It's like they'd have to simulate empathy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then it's not really empathy. But there are people that like psychopaths and even sociopaths that want to reform their lives. It's easier for a sociopath to reform their lives because their behaviors are learned.
Mm-hmm.
A psychopath probably couldn't, unless their behaviors were interrupted in childhood and interventions were started very young.
Mm-hmm.
But even still, they would have to be taught to simulate those behaviors. And I have heard of that. I've seen interviews with psychopaths who learn to fake it till they make it. But
Mm-hmm.
but they have an interest in doing that. They want to blend.
Mm-hmm.
They want to live in society. Because
they want to have friends.
I was just going to say that they do want to have friends.
Mm-hmm.
They want to have friends. So they will do that to have friends. They're lonely. They're lonely. So they do want to have friends. So they will do that. And I admire that because at least they want to try. And trying is, nobody has to be perfect. But if a person at least shows a willingness to try, it's always a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's hope if a person wants to try. But that's why I said it has to be motivated. There's got to be motivation. The necessary components to therapeutic change include humility. Now tell me what you think. Humility, insight, introspection, persistence, motivation, emotional resilience, and behavioral flexibility. Also, self-control and a commitment to reaching therapeutic and personal goals. Do you see how much it takes, though? You really have got to want it. Because the narcissist would have to overcome their natural tendencies, because really, this really is an organic problem, right? It's the way their brain works. And the changes that would be necessary for the person would have to be facilitated by a therapist who knows how to work with narcissists.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I was telling you today, Nana Patty, about that research article I was reading about, remember that woman that does research on therapeutic interventions with narcissists? There's a lot of pitfalls even for therapists. They get very, like narcissists even manipulate them easily, so much so that there's been a lot of research done on how to avoid that happening as a therapist.
Right.
Because they manipulate therapists.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a difficult thing to have happen. The person would have to be really motivated. And at the core of it is, what would motivate you the most to change? Somebody you're in love with. I'm in love with this person. But a narcissist, by definition, is self-love, right? Right.
Yeah, they can't love someone else.
They only love themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So you always have that dilemma. Right?
Yep.
All right. Now, we're getting to the Les Carter part of this and what we can do about all this stuff. Let's get to that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what psychological and emotional damage is done to people when they are involved with a narcissist? Okay. And this is when I bring in Dr. Carter. Because we talk about, can a narcissist change, right? And we know that that would be very difficult. So what can we do for ourselves? All right. Being involved with a narcissist can leave you feeling completely confused and depleted of energy, right? Because now remember the eggshells. We're always walking on eggshells. According to Dr. Les Carter from the YouTube channel called Surviving Narcissism, he points out the following experiences that his patients have reported in his private practice when treating those in relationships with narcissists. And I put the date, I think I added later on the title of the channel. I think I added it. Yeah, I did. Okay. So the name of the name of the video, I added that on this. Okay. And this is what he said. And I watched this again today, so it would be fresh in my head. The person will have flashbacks to conflicts that they've had with the narcissist. So there's an element of like PTSD here. When you hear flashbacks, right? Doesn't that, that's where our head goes, right? Oh, good. I'm glad you're staying with us, Veronica. Good. She's cleaning up the kitchen, but she's still listening. Increases. Yeah, isn't that nice? She's sticking it out with us. Increases in general tension, stress, and anxiety in the person. So the person is, going through a lot of anxiety and tension in their life overall. Like that means baseline, right? Okay. Now, one thing that Les Carter mentioned today is that people that have, let's say, victimized by people that have narcissism, they find themselves displacing their anger and frustration on others because they know they can't do that with the person that has narcissism. In other words, say they're living with a person or they're married to somebody, they can't come home and let out their anger and frustration, or say they had a bad day at work and it has nothing to do with the narcissist. They can't come home and rely on that person to be there for them. So they displace their emotions on somebody else. So maybe they might have a problem now in a different relationship that they might not have a problem with because they're in a relationship with a narcissist, because now they're doing sort of almost like a similar behavior to the narcissist. And Dr. Carter talks about that a lot, where he tries to tell you, if you're in a relationship with a narcissist, don't become like the narcissist. Don't copy their behavior. Don't become like them. Take a different path. And he's very good. He's very good. If anybody's having difficulty with that type of relationship, if you listen to him every day, it's a wonderfully therapeutic relationship you're going to feel like you have with him. He's very good. He also said that a lot of his clients, after a certain amount of time, become very cynical. And I think that comes from hopelessness. You feel trapped. You really do. They develop trust issues. Is it any wonder that you would, right? They also feel a lot of guilt and shame. Now that I can understand completely. Feelings like, how did I ever not see this in the person? How did I, how did I let this happen? How did I end up with this person? Why didn't I see this coming? What is it about me that allowed this to happen? A lot of guilt and shame, right? That's understandable. A lot of confusion in terms of like, because you don't know how the person has unpredictable behavior too. So you're always caught off guard, right? By the person.
I've had a lot of those feelings that you're talking about.
Yeah.
The confusion. Yeah. How did I let myself get into this situation?
Yes.
Why didn't I see it?
Yes. Thanks, Debbie Johnson. Yes.
How could I dealt with this for years? And then all of a sudden that person actually threw me away like I was a piece of trash.
It's a terrible, terrible experience.
All because I disagreed with them.
Right.
and brought up, what I thought. But we were having a conversation,
Mhm.
and it didn't turn out the way that I thought that two normal people would have a conversation
Right.
and discuss something and then come up with a solution, resolve it.
Mhm.
But there was no solution other
Right.
than to get rid of me, to just dump
Right.
me, throw me out like garbage.
Right. And then, you know, how do you react to that? You've never ever been in a situation like that. So what is the right way to react? There is none.
No,
There
lots of
is none.
tears, lots and lots of tears,
Right. I know. I know.
a lot of hurt, a lot of pain.
Mm-hmm. And shame,
Mm-hmm.
because you always, you feel like I should have known. I should have known. I don't think that ever goes away. It just
Mm-hmm.
gets a little bit easier, but I don't think that really goes away.
No.
That's where I think you feel like I put the last two was I added these two. These were more for me that I was thinking about. You feel helpless because
Mm-hmm.
when you're dealing with like say you and I had something come up and we talked about it. I could pretty much predict that we would talk about it and within 5 minutes we would figure out a solution with each other and it would be resolved and whatever it
Mm-hmm.
was. We've never had anything happen like that, but what if we did? Okay, we'll make it up. Or any of my other friends, I think that I know for quite a while now, right? I think I can anticipate that we would, because
Mm-hmm.
I could anticipate that how you would react because I know you as a person.
Mm-hmm.
There's a predictability. So I would feel hopeful that we could get through something like that with a relationship like that, that's ongoing like that you're like, say you're still in it. I would have
Mm-hmm.
zero hope that we could negotiate anything. There's an element of impossibility there. And that's, I think, where you get the hopelessness and helplessness from. Because
Mm-hmm.
you're never able to anticipate what you're going to get back. Because it's so off the scale, off the charts of what you would ever get from anybody else.
Right.
So how do you address it? All right. The next one is, this next section is going to answer some of those questions. How to manage a narcissist and regain control of your life. Now, but this is not limited to just this. This is just some suggestions that Dr. Carter said that he's advice that he's given some of his patients and things that they have said that have helped them. The solution is to have a healthy understanding of the narcissist and what they are capable of. Don't underestimate that. Be aware of it. Don't deny it. And anticipate it. Since the narcissist feels emboldened and justified in what they are doing, it is necessarily to do the following. Establish strict boundaries. Now, this refers to people that, that either have to stay in the relationship or could leave it. So it's broad, okay? Give consequences to behavior. So I guess if you have to stay in it, if you're in a marriage or, maybe it's a child or a parent, something like that. Have the least, and here's the key, have the least amount of contact with that narcissist as you possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, I think that is like, I've heard from a lot of people that the narcissists in their life, they have zero contact with, or as little as possible. And I think this is how it goes, I think, a lot of the time. Give the least amount of disclosures about you give the least amount of disclosures with regard to yourself. You don't have to give information to that person about you at all. Keep everything close to the vest. Okay. And I know Dr. Carter has a video on this. I'm going to try to look for it again, because he talks about the tendency that a person with narcissism has, that they act like they're sharing with you, but they're really not. They're enticing you to share with them. And then they're recording things in their mind about,
Or on their phone.
well, yeah, I mean, I guess that's possible too, but
Mm-hmm.
in any case, taking notes.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they'll record those things in their mind, and you don't know it. Like, say, even a person that you might be dating or something, they might show no sign of this, but they could be acting like they're sharing things about themselves, but what they're sharing is very superficial things, whereas you're sharing things that were that are more intimate, and they're keeping track of that stuff. And someday they might be saying to themselves, someday, I might have to say to them something like, well, if you leave me, I'm going to tell so-and-so that, you did this or something. He talks about that in a specific video. And it was just, I have to find it, because I've watched so many of his videos.
So it's a little
And
like
he mentioned what?
extortion. So it's extortion.
Yeah.
Blackmail.
He said something like, narcissists keep score.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it blew my mind. He was just incredible what he said about it. I'm gonna modify this and include that video in this.
Okay.
Drop your need to explain yourself and persuade the other person. Drop your need to explain yourself and persuade. You don't owe anybody an explanation of anything. Be decisive and don't cower or rearrange your life around that person. Don't fear the narcissist's opinion of you. Remain true to your values and don't mirror their behavior. In other words, don't lower yourself. If they go into rages, you don't. Because remember, they need that, they want that excitement. Don't do it. Be assertive and confident. Disconnect from codependency. Dr. Carter is very, very explicit about this. Don't get into you act, I act, you act, I act. It's drama back and forth. That is such a pattern with people with narcissism that he talks about that in almost every video. Disengage from the pattern of that back and forth.
Because you're just feeding the narcissist whenever you go.
Exactly.
Whenever you go on the attack.
Right.
To fight back with what you're dealing with over here, then that person over here is so happy. It just feeds them.
Right. I think that he calls it narcissistic, a narcissistic supply, I think he calls it. Something like that. Yeah. And don't reverse your course. If you decide to do something and you do it, don't go back on what you did. Because it shows weakness and it shows that that person has control over you. So if you decide to do so, I mean, barring any big mistake that you really feel like you need to correct, and we all make mistakes, try to stick to your original decision. Make sure you think it through well, but don't reverse course. It shows weakness. Don't do it. And then I added this. When you go if you're going to go for therapy, go to somebody who knows what it's like to have to deal with a narcissist. Go to somebody who's really qualified. It'll make all the difference in the world. This last section here, I think I added this afternoon. I liked it because these are the red flags that Dr. Carter talked about. It talks about other signs to look out for, and he emphasizes never ignore your gut feeling. And this is the last section. We're going to be done. So guys, I know we went real long, but he says if your inner voice is telling you something is wrong, don't ignore it. And I like that advice because maybe there'll be one less person that, gets stuck in that kind of relationship. Okay. So listen to your inner voice. If something doesn't feel right, it is not. Don't ignore red flags in relationships. According to Dr. Carter's experiences from his practice, the most common red flags include the following. Okay. The narcissist may not initially criticize you, but eventually he or she will criticize you. Might not start out that way, but eventually a lot of conversations will revolve around criticizing you. There is a you owe me aspect to the relationship. If you see that happening as a pattern, it's a red flag. There is an exploitative aspect to the relationship. You see that? It's a red flag. It's not a little thing. The person is a poor listener. We talked about that in the beginning. That's a red flag. If the person is very thin-skinned, in other words, you can say something to them, you didn't mean anything by it, but they lose it. You didn't mean to insult them. It comes out from nowhere, right? The person is not coachable. Okay. That's a term that Dr. Carter uses. The person does not take any input well. Their unsolicited advice to you is always criticism. They think they'll say it like they're doing you a favor. It's no favor. They have a what have you done for me lately? It's about what you do, what you could do for them mentality. They want to be serviced. They want to be treated special. Keep giving me more is their style. Time management. I thought this was interesting. A lot of people that have narcissism have very poor time management skills. He said they're either very, very rigid about being on time all the time, or they are just very awful about being on time, one or the other. But that's actually a sign. It's not, it's a red flag. Irritability and moodiness, bad sign. There is always something under the surface. You can't take them at face value, red flag. It's all about winning. They have to be on top, okay? They want you to defer to them, red flag. They are users of people, red flag. They discount any of your insight. They will ignore any of your attempts at your own self-care. They are threatened by your confidence and resilience. And that's the last thing I have.
Okay.
All right, we did it. Oh my gosh, I kept you guys so long. So I'm going to add, I think they're really good red flags. And I love that he says, yes, take the high road, pumpkin pie. Yeah. And I want to add that other video that he talks about how they keep track of everything. That's really key. And I'm going to add that video to the end of my handout. So you guys, if Gary already emailed it to you, I'll just send you the information, Nana Patty.
Okay.
And I didn't include the list of references, but I could do that if anybody wants to have that, because if you're a geek and you want to have some reading, some of the reading material was really good. So I hope you enjoyed it. It was a great topic. You guys had great questions, and I enjoyed it so much more that I did get to see the chat because of that. I felt like I was really hanging out with you guys. I hope you got something out of it.
I think they did.
Thank you, cousin. Thank you, cousin, for coming. My cousin's still here. What?
I think they did.
Good. You guys are the greatest.
They want to know if they can see your kitty.
Yeah, I don't know where they are, but I can go get them. If you want me to, sure. Let's see what else everybody's saying first. Is projection something they are aware of, they are doing? You know what? I don't think so. I think that these things that they do come so naturally. What do you think, Natty Patty? Do you think those defense mechanisms like projection and everything? You're welcome, Pause. I'm so glad you enjoyed it. Amy.
Oh my goodness, Amy.
That's
Thank
so
you.
nice of you. Aww.
Very nice.
I learned firsthand the sting of betrayal or dishonesty this week. Oh my goodness. I am sorry for what you likely endured. No strings attached, nothing wanted in return. Amy. Aw.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, darling. Aw. You guys are so nice.
Hi, Lisa H.
Oh, hi, Lisa H. I hope you had a good sleep today. Hi, Lori Coley. Hi, Evie. Hi, Justin. Aw. Hi, Dandy and Jamie. You guys are the best. Hi, Lollipop
Yeah.
Bill. I think that they use these defense mechanisms, and I don't think they even think about it. I really don't. Just like I think they believe the fabrications and, dare I say, lies. I think they believe them. I am
They do
riveted.
believe them.
This applies to a close family member and gives more clarity. Good, Dana Leslie. Thank you, Lisa D and Nana Patty. So bizarre to watch. Yes, they all accuse others of what they're actually doing. Yes. Can addiction lead to narcissistic behaviors? Because you know what, souls? I think it could. Because I feel, and I'm not an expert on addiction, but I do think that, I got to plug in my phone, Gary's phone. Hold on, it's dying. But I think that
they already have a touch of narcissism before they start gambling or before they start their addiction, whatever that addiction is. I think they already have a touch of it, but I think it can make it a lot worse.
There's a baseline problem going on there to begin with, right? That makes the person engage in an addictive behavior to begin with. But depending on what the person's addicted, thank you, Mary Tackett. But depending on what the person's addicted to, it changes the way you're thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm so glad, Denise C. I want to be able to explain it well. I try to. Try to make it interesting. And I like that everybody gets involved. It makes it so much more fun. Yeah, I guess medication doesn't help. Pat L, medication to help narcissism. I don't think so.
There is for psychopathy medications that might help that, but I don't think there is anything for narcissism. They don't have a cure for that.
No, I mean, unless there's like a comorbidity of an anxiety disorder or depression, then that could help that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, souls. I missed you too. You guys are so sweet. Yeah, it would only treat the comorbidity.
Bye, Jackie.
Hi, Sarah Jane. It's a difficult type of person to manage in your life. A lot of people who say that they have, a narcissist in their lives cannot have them in their lives. They just can't have them there. Yeah, Peggy K said all you can do is get away from them. It must be very difficult to have a narcissistic parent.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't think to get medicated because they don't realize they have a problem. Yep, that's true, cousin. They don't realize they have a problem. So the odds of them getting medicated would be very low. The only way they would is if they had some other symptomatology going on that was really, really bothering them. Amy, You're so sweet. I'm glad that you feel better after listening to us and everyone else. I'm glad. That's always
the problem. It's always the solution to dealing with a narcissist is to get away from them. Mm-hmm. But sometimes they torment you so bad when you do leave them that people wonder sometimes if they would have been better off staying. Mm-hmm. And from my own dealings with it, I can say, no, you're better off leaving. Mm-hmm. So get as far away from them as you can.
I agree. And recognize that they are not going to change. Hi, Sally Ann.
No, they're not.
And and recognize that the person is not going to change. That's sad. Just recognize that. I find that sad because as a clinician myself that is used to, always wanting to make things better for people, for children especially, it's very hard to accept that some people are not very fixable.
Mm-hmm.
Peggy Case said, I don't know if my mom was a narcissist, but I highly suspect that she was. My peace came when she died. That's so sad. But I get it.
Mm-hmm.
It is very sad. Thanks, Sally Ann.
Sometimes you just want them to leave you alone, but you can't approach them because you're in the process of keeping away from.
Right.
So
you will.
They can harass you.
You get that desperate. Everybody wants peace.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I should say that everybody needs peace. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Cut your losses and run fast and far.
Mm-hmm.
Debbie Wins at Life said, yeah, it's true. I had to make a definitive choice to not parent like my mother did, Tebby says. I'm sure. Must have been very difficult.
Welcome, Janelle.
You're welcome, Janelle. Yeah. Now, we'll have to see. I'm glad that you guys got a lot out of it. I know you really wanted this topic. Pink is here, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see her earlier.
I think we could almost do a whole nother talk about it and get into more of the psychopathy and sociopathy.
Yeah, I think we could. There was so much more. I had to really limit it. I was finding myself reading more and more and saying, oh wait, I'm not going to include that. It would be too much. But it's such an interesting topic.
It is.
The good part is there is so much out there for people. Like Les Carter is only one person, and when you listen to him, you feel like you are in therapy with him. He's very helpful, and it doesn't cost you anything. He just has that type of personality, and there's so many other people that are just as good as he is. You just find the person who is the best fit for you. But there's very good people out there. I hope you will do another session, Lisa D. Thank you. Lollipop Guild said, yeah, it's just a matter of I guess another topic. What topic we're going to do next. And this, I wrote this from scratch because I've never really done anything on this topic before, but I do have a list of things I have already written. If anybody, I need to put that, we need to put that up on the community post so it can generate some ideas. Because I know people do have concerns about children. You want to do a part 2? Star Sun Bouquet said, maybe we could talk about that too. Maybe I could do something on kids next time and then go back to it, or go back to it, do a part 2 and then go on to kids. Thank you, Paisley Pumps. Thank you, sweetheart. Yeah, Pink Lady Luck, we talked a little bit about codependence, and not getting into that, back and forth tit for tat thing, because narcissistic people love that. They love to get fed like that. They love that back and forth stuff. It really feeds that. Tevi said, I would love to focus on narcissistic mothers. Yeah, that's got to be difficult.
Mothers, fathers, siblings.
Pat said kids would be great. What kind of things would you want to talk about with kids? Part 2 would be good. Maybe we could do that too. We'll do a part 2 and then maybe do something we could do. I'm a social worker. My clients with NPD eventually tried to get me fired or alienated other staff. See, it's just, You like my Lisa talks? Good. Thanks, Amy. I'm not surprised that the article I was reading about with the way they talked about, therapy with people with narcissism was fascinating to me. How they had to give therapists therapy on how to avoid the common pitfalls of treating narcissists because they manipulate them so much. It just blew my mind. I was telling Nana Patty about it today. I wanted to add that so bad to this, but it would have added too much volume to this, and it would have been too much. But it was just, it's crazy. They're master manipulators. They love to stir the pot.
Mm-hmm.
They just love it. See, that's hard for me to wrap my head around because I'm so the opposite of that. I was never like that. Never like that. I don't understand that mentality. A paper on learning how to noticing narcissism in children. Is that what she said? I forget who said it. It went up so fast.
Hey, Paisley Pumps.
Sentiments in paper. Well, it's not that hard to see it in children, believe it or not. You can see it in children pretty obviously, just in the way they treat other children. It's very easy to see.
So they want to talk about narcissistic parents specifically. Janelle Gordon isn't taking orders for the potty bears. I think he's only made one, and that one's going to Muppets.
What'd you say, Nana Patty? I was zoning on the chat. What is it?
Did you see the potty piglets that Gordon made?
No.
It's a craft. Anyway, she wanted to know if he was taking orders for it. I said, no.
He made a potty piglet?
Well, he made a little house, and he put like a toilet in there, and this little piglet sitting on the toilet.
You got to be kidding me.
No. And then there's another little piglet standing at the sink getting ready. So it's really cute. And I don't even know where it is. Let me look for it real quick while you still talk.
How did I miss this? I didn't know Gordon had that. I mean, the last thing I saw was the toilet paper thing.
Yeah, he likes to play around with stuff.
He's so funny. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, I don't believe it. I can't believe that. Oh, Amy, that's nice. Yeah, Nana Patty went to go get it. The potty piglet? That's really cute. I find myself feeling, yeah, I understand, Paisley Pumps. It's dumb, I know, but they don't always know that. I understand that. I can understand that because I'm very compassionate too. I don't know if it's hereditary because it almost seems like this kind of person is just dropped into a family to me, from what I've seen. It just feels like they're just sort of dropped in there randomly. Like it doesn't seem like there's like generational narcissist. It just seems like that to me. They're like plopped down in the middle of the family.
No.
It was warm in here.
Okay, it's a little box.
Let's see.
And then you open it.
Oh, you're
And there's the little
kidding.
piglets.
That is cute. Did he decoupage that and everything?
Yeah.
Wow, Gordon, you are talented.
Mm-hmm.
That is the cutest little thing.
Look at the floor.
What?
Looks like tile.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That is cute. You're giving it to Muppets?
Yeah.
She's going to love it.
Mm-hmm.
That
Muppets
is.
He's got to
is-
finish painting some on it, and
Aw.
and then it'll go to Muppets.
I love it. I just
Isn't
love
that
it.
just so cute? Like a little shelf.
That is really, really cute. I just think that's the sweetest thing.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a little book in his hand.
Mm-hmm.
Aw,
Reading his book, sitting on the potty.
that's so cute. Muppets is gonna love it.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody else does that.
Yeah. It's got to be an old married couple sitting on the pot and her getting ready. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Cute.
it is cute.
Excellent job, Gordon.
They said, excellent job, honey.
Yeah. Mr. Nana Patty. Yeah. So we'll see
Thanks,
what
BB.
happens for
BB.
yeah. We'll see what happens for the next one. We'll think about what we're gonna do next. I'll give Nana Patty the list of topics
Thanks,
that
Lucy.
I already have prepared too. So you could get an idea of what I already have. I would update them though. Every time I redo something, I research it and update everything. Because things change.
Yeah, just send me the stuff that you want me to put on the community
Mhm.
page and I'll
Sure.
get it put on there.
Yeah. Totally.
Hi, Molly.
I'm glad everybody liked it though. I'm really happy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
It went great.
Yeah, what was I gonna ask you? Didn't you say that you were possibly getting another dog?
Maybe a Chihuahua.
How did that work out? Are you actually are you
We're
gonna get the dog?
We're not getting that dog. I think
Oh,
someone
okay.
else took it.
Okay.
But
I wasn't sure.
but we are looking because Molly wants a buddy she can play with.
Yeah, that's what I was
Mm-hmm.
asking.
Yeah, right now she's stuck with us humans to play with, and the other dogs once in a while they play with her.
Yeah, she
But
needs a
I
little
think-
pal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Aw. I don't know where my guys went because I know somebody
Yep,
wanted
Sandy.
to.
Somebody wanted to see your cats. You better
Yeah.
find one.
I'm gonna have to do that because somebody asks. I gotta see.
Yeah.
it. All right, hold on. Let me go see where they are. I think they might be sleeping in one of them is
Sandy is-
probably in Gary's room, and one of them is probably laying down with Gary, the other Gary. Let's see.
Sandy
Oh,
Law.
wait a minute. Nunu's looking for the piss cat.
Sandy
Here he
Law.
is.
Gordon has helped me with the cricket.
Nunu. Nunu. Say hi to your friends.
Bye, Janelle. Thank you. Oh, hi, kitty.
Nunu.
Hi, kitty, kitty.
Did you make friends with the kitten last night? Did you play with the little kitten? Oh, he's looking for the piss cat.
Yeah,
He's busy.
He is. He's really, really
He's
looking.
focused.
He's busy looking. He's like, don't interrupt me.
He always looks after what he always hunts after dinner.
Yeah,
He eats and then he stays here for like 3 hours or something. He's so funny.
really.
So funny.
You are funny.
And we always get the deer coming to eat our flowers over here.
Mm-hmm. Well, you froze, Lisa.
Around. Maybe they did come when I was.
I think your connection's
looking.
bad.
The other night. Oh, sorry.
Now you're back.
Yeah, he's waiting. He's waiting for the piss cat.
Mm-hmm.
The kitchen's a mess.
Well, it's dinner time.
Yeah, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go.
Did Gary cook dinner?
We had, what did we have? I had a salad earlier, and I think he made a salad too.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, he made some shrimp. We didn't know what to eat. So he made
Sandy
some
Law,
shrimp.
I think Gordon will share the cricket with me one day. He's interested in it, so I think he'll
Gary
use it.
likes mine too. He does. He likes the cricket.
Yeah,
Yeah, what's not to like?
right. And I do use my cricket sometimes. I haven't used it much in the last, bit because I've had surgeries that have kept me from doing anything. Thank you, Karen H.
You froze for a minute. Either you froze or I froze. I don't know who. One of us.
Probably me.
The piss cat is a cat that used to come and pee on my front door. So Nunu still remembers when he used to come. And he hasn't come in probably what, I don't know, over a year. But he still goes and looks for him. Really weird. I know, I could never foster a cat either.
Say hi to everybody. Say
Hi,
hi,
baby.
Molly.
Hi, Molly.
Look. Molly, look. Look,
Hi,
Molly.
Molly.
Look.
Hey, Molly.
Look.
Who's a good girl?
Say
Who's a
hi.
good- Isn't that funny? Come and look. Come here. Hi.
Say hi. Say hi. You see yourself, Molly? You see yourself?
You
Oh,
guys could, if you guys could hear me. Hi, Molly. But Nana Patty was talking to me this morning about the, doing this tonight. And she was like trying to be real, really. I know this cat, I know Lisa H. So Nana Patty goes to me, what are you going to be doing today? I go, well, I'm going to be still writing a little bit, reading some articles, She goes, I think you better take a nap. Because she knows like my bedtime is so early. Because I know inside, I know she's thinking, Lisa D, I don't know. Are you going to really be able to stay awake? Because in the back of her mind, she's thinking,
Yep.
how diplomatic Nana Patty is. I think you better take a nap. I didn't actually take a nap.
You didn't?
Nope.
You better go to bed.
Well, I was, because she knows I get up at like 4:30.
Mm-hmm.
But today I was up at 3:30.
Yeah.
I just laid there, but I didn't fall back to sleep.
We have good conversations sometimes at 4:30 in the morning.
Exactly. Oh, yeah. Molly Kins. She's a good girl. That's right. All dogs are
Lucy,
human.
I did.
They just can't talk. What?
Mm-hmm. I was telling Lucy J that I did get her email. That was funny.
Lisa H was saying it sounds funny when I say piss.
Piss cat.
Door. Well, they still do sometimes, and look out the door. And he used to come, the piss cat used to come, and he would mark his territory on my door because he would see my guy sitting there. So he's like, well, that's my door.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't seen that cat in probably 2 years. But he still looks for him.
Wow.
They'll probably be looking for him forever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Probably.
Tanda, what cabinet? The one that was in the sunroom? Yeah, Gary cut it down and we put it in there. You want to see it? I'll show it to you. Wait, what am I looking at? This. Okay, wait, I gotta wait. All right, hold on. I got you back. This is the cabinet looks pretty good. I'll show you. Wait a minute. You still there, Nana Patty?
Yep. Still here.
I don't know. I keep. Here's the cabinet right there. Tonda wanted to see it. I can't flip the camera. I don't know why it won't work. Isn't that weird? It won't flip.
Oh, yeah?
Are you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah. There
Yeah,
it is.
the camera won't flip. Did it flip?
Well, it's showing it.
Oh,
it was
is.
showing
You're
it.
right, but it's not showing it here. Sorry, guys. I'm flipping it a million times, aren't I? Hold on.
There it is.
Now it's
Now it's
working?
showing. Mm-hmm. Yep,
Okay,
it's showing.
okay.
It
Well,
turned
good.
out
There's the
great.
cabinet. It looks pretty good. Yeah, it looks nice
Mhm.
and neat now. We don't have all that mess over there. He took 6 inches
Mhm.
off the back because it was just too thick,
Wow.
or deep rather, I
Mhm.
guess. Yeah. So I like it.
Yeah.
It made it look neater, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, turned out great.
I put the high chair over there.
Oh,
Yeah, it
little
looks
high
cute,
chair.
right? Love that little high chair.
Mhm.
I feel so lucky.
Yep,
Yeah.
you are fortunate. We all are.
Now, could you guys see me again?
Yeah.
Okay. Because it's funny, it doesn't show it. It doesn't show it over here. It shows it over there. So that's why it was confusing me. Yeah, the stuff is nice and neat now, Tonda. I couldn't take like all that stuff piled up over there. Yes, Dana Leslie, that's my favorite guy that talks about narcissism, Dr. Les Carter. He's one of my favorites. I really like him. I used a lot of his information in my talk. He's got a real, we nicknamed him Dr. Magoo, right?
Yeah.
And Pat, yeah.
Yeah.
We don't mean
Looks
anything
like
bad about it. He's
Mr.
just, he's very,
Looks like Mr. Magoo a little bit.
very, oh, you got a phone call. Okay. Glad you found us too.
Well, I guess we should probably go now.
Yeah, I guess so. Let
If you
everybody
want
get
to.
going. Yeah, I think I'll go to bed now because it's almost 9. Because I'll wake up the
Yeah.
same time, you know? Do I still
Mhm.
have the cactus? I do have the giant cactus souls. I do. It's almost up to the ceiling.
I told you Deb on the Move is coming through town, right? And through
Yes.
where I live. And so she's gonna stop by and visit for a few minutes.
I'm excited.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? You froze, Lisa. Now you're back. You were frozen for a
Yep, I
minute.
lost you again. I don't know
Yeah.
why that keeps happening.
I don't know.
When is she coming to see you?
Around 9 o'clock, I think.
Yes. Oh, tonight?
Yeah. Mhm.
Oh, very good. So she should be there soon.
Yeah. Well, it's almost 8 my time.
Right. 1 more hour. And somebody asked me about the bunny. I do have a bunny, a grand bunny. And I'm crazy about the bunny. You're going to think I'm nuts. I'm going to say something and I'm going to embarrass myself, okay? But I'm going to say it anyway.
Uh-oh. You
How do
froze.
I think I froze. Can
You
you hear
did.
me all right? All right.
Now I can.
All right. I'm going to embarrass myself, but I'm going to do it anyway. You ready? All right. So when Gina FaceTimes me, you're welcome, Teresa Elvis. So when my daughter FaceTimes me with the bunny, okay? You can still hear me now, Patty?
Yep.
Okay. I just want to make sure I'm not frozen. Okay.
Mhm.
I say to the bunny, and the bunny knows to look into the camera. She's smart like that. I don't know why, but she knows that it's me. And I
Yeah.
sing the bunny song. I sing her the bunny song. I embarrass myself, but I don't care because she loves it. So I sing the bunny song, and then I go like this to her. Go this.
Uh-oh, you froze.
Little-
Come on, computer, come on.
You
Bring
know,
Lisa.
and then,
You
What?
froze. You froze. So you got to the point where you
Oh.
were like, and you do this to the bunny, but
Okay.
then you froze.
I say to the bunny, let me see your little nosy, because I love to kiss her nose. She always knows
Mhm.
that. And I go, let me see your nosy, let me see your nosy. And you go, mwah, 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 let me see your nosy. And I could swear that she wiggles her nose extra when I say that, like she knows I am saying to her, let me see your little nosy. Because I do that when she's here. I go, give me a nosy, come here. And I go, mwah, 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 and I give her kisses. And I feel
Aw.
like when I do that, and she's looking into the camera, she's wiggling her nose more. Like she
Mhm.
wiggles it extra, just like she
Aw.
does when she's here. That's how
Mhm.
smart she is. And I said it to Gina last night. She's wiggling her nose at me.
Mhm.
That's how smart she is. Because
Dang it, you keep
she's here. I
freezing.
got it. I give her extra little nosy kisses. So she wiggles it extra.
Aw.
I'm sorry. Well, anyway, one day when I have the bunny, I'll show you guys. I told Gina she has to come visit soon because I miss the bunny. So,
Yes,
all right, I guess I'll go
definitely.
then. 'Cause I
Okay,
keep
well,
freezing. But
we're
love to
gonna
all
go.
of you. And
I
I
don't-
appreciate you coming so much.
I don't plan on coming back on live tonight, but not unless some of the girls want to. I'll find out. If they do, I'll come back on in a little bit. If not,
Okay.
we'll see you guys on Sunday. So much love, and I need to say a
Mwah.
prayer real quick.
Oh, please do that. I like when you do that. You do good prayers for us.
Thank you. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this gathering of all these people. Thank you for bringing them into our lives. Please watch over everyone. Make sure that their needs are met, that they are taken care of. Please watch over a special request for Carol Boyce and also for Muppets and Manilow and Carol's friend Stacy. Please help heal those people. You know their needs. And just continue to take care of us. Watch over the world. This entire world needs healing. People need healing in their hearts, their minds, and their souls. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Nana Patty. And
You're
thank you,
welcome.
everyone. Love you all
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you so much for doing this.
I'm glad you liked it, everyone. Thanks for being you, everyone.